This is in no way going to be a new segment on here, but it's time for us to talk about a duo of albums that CKN can't pronounce, because I suck at trying that. And quite frankly, it's a lot easier just to not even try, because, yeah. We have two albums here that I haven't got the opportunity to talk about yet that were released about a week, or in one case, about 2 weeks ago, that we need to talk about. New ones from Rotting Christ. Insert album name here, which will be in the description box. Or maybe even on my face, I don't know. Eternal Tears of Sorrow, that one's a little bit easier. But, these are two albums from two bands that have certainly made a definite impact in the heavy metal scene throughout the course of their existence. With Rotting Christ, it's definitely going to be more so, considering they've kind of taken the whole black metal style and have evolved it countless times over and over again from their inception in the first part of the 1990s. With their earlier work that has been modified into the early 2000s, where they've released just some really, really tremendous material, to today, here in 2013. And I definitely feel that this album that they have released certainly is something that is well equipped to remain kind of on the same breath as some of the best elements of their discography. And the reason for that is principally because this is a band that has always, always remained true to the raw style. This Greek band has always maintained that whole Greek influence, that Greek sound, that has definitely made Greece kind of one of those underrated places that we get a lot of great metal from. It's definitely a country where you have to explore a little bit more, but you'll actually find a lot more than you might imagine. Now with this album, I really like the atmosphere on it. The atmosphere is very dense, it's very dank. There is a little bit of experimentation on this album. There's a lot of chanting. There is a lot of strange voices that you're going to hear throughout the element. And you're, of course, going to hear the powerful, straightforward riffing that Rotting Christ has always been very, very well known for. Now, the hooks are a little bit more subtle this time around. On some albums of the past, especially in the middle part of the 2000s, the hooks were a little bit more in abundance because it seemed like they were taking a little bit more of a melodic direction within their straightforward realm of black metal. However, it's not something that is as present around here. They're definitely putting a lot more of an emphasis on straightforward atmosphere than they have on albums in the past. And for that reason, this can seem a little bit harder to get into for some fans that have listened to their previous couple of works and just kind of feel this one to be a little bit different or something that's a little bit harder for them to get into. For that reason, though, we should not necessarily look at this as an ill-fated album in their discography. This atmosphere actually gives it a very nice tone. It gives it one that is very haunting and continues to build upon the themes that they constantly bring to the table with each and every album. So I'm going to have to give this one a strong 8. With Eternal Tears of Sorrow, the first thing I have to say is somebody that I read somewhere labeled these guys as romantic metal. What are they, him? No. I really like these guys, and I've always been kind of a fan of them, even ever since albums such as A Virgin and a Whore. With this album, we see part 3 of the Angel Heart, Raven Heart drama, if you want to call that. And while I do believe it does stand up to the other two in the series, I still don't. I think that this is perhaps one of the weakest of the trilogy thus far. Although it's continuing the story, so you could almost say that it's just giving you another taste of this. I really like the fact that they do this. I know of another band that has done this now for a period of close to 30 years, and that's the band Overkill, and I've always really enjoyed how the Overkill saga has evolved. However, with Eternal Tears of Sorrow, what they have done with this album, kind of in converse to the Rotting Christ album, is that the hooks have become a lot bolder. They've become more pronounced. They have become, a bigger portion of their sound. It was something that, it needs to be said, that was present prior, so it's not as though this is a huge 100% 180 new development in Eternal Tears of Sorrow camp. However, with this album, they seem and feel bigger. They seem like they are at the forefront. This is something that they really want you to understand and realize is a huge part of their sound. And it's one that actually helps the songs out a lot more than it did in albums in the past. It drives the songs a lot more. It actually gives the songs a lot more punch and a lot more vigor to it. Now, the album itself feels average until you hear how these hooks come about, how the grand scheme feel of it occurs. And it usually occurs very, very, right at the very beginning of each track, and it flows well. it flows with a very nice flow that is similar to a river, so to speak. That was really, really lame. But at the same time, it's true, because whenever you start off this album all the way to the very end of Part 3 of the Angel Heart Ravenheart drama, you feel as though you are listening to a complete affair. You almost feel as though it is telling you a very grand story, even though you're not quite sure what the story means. And because of that, this album has a lot of strengths in the fact that you do not tire of it. It's an album that ends before you even realize it. It's an album that feels as though it has plenty to offer and then offers it to you. For that reason, it is more than just an average album. It's actually quite above average. It's what I would call a high 7. So probably a 7.8, 7.9 in the realm here. So yes. Am I going to try to say the bands, the names of these albums, and potentially distance myself from fans of the bands? I'm still doing that by not saying it, by not even trying. No one's ever satisfied, god damn it, but that's okay, because I know my limitations. I also know my limitations considering I currently sound like the inside of a bullfrog's ass. So, it was just for the best. But I encourage you to definitely explore these two albums. They are definitely worth your exploration in time. And they are two albums from two established bands that certainly need to be in your collection. So check them out.